January 19th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Luis Basan. Excuse me. Take your seats. We'll start with item A, roll call and possible action on excusing any absent member. Here. Here. Here.
Present.
Present. We need a motion to excuse those absent. The chairman, Edgar Doradio.
I'll make a motion to excuse.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Campero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we move on to item B. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by our Bridge Director, Luis Basan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Dear God, please give me strength when I am weak, love when I feel forsaken, courage when I am afraid, wisdom when I feel foolish, comfort when I am alone, hope when I feel rejected, and peace when I am in turmoil. Amen.
Thank you. Move on to item 2, Director's Administrative Report by Mr. Fred Brown. Crossings and Revenues Report.
Good afternoon, board members. For the record, Fred Brown, Director of Operations at the Pharr Bridge. I'd like to present the crossings and revenues for the month of December, fiscal year 2021, 2022. On page number 3, you have the car crossings. These are the cars that are traveling from US to Mexico through the Pharr Bridge for the month of December. We crossed a total of 42,277 cars, which represents a decrease of 7,731, or a decrease of 15.46%. Also, I'd like to present the crossings and revenues from other ports of entry. We have Gateway, an increase of 55%, Veterans, 55% increase, Free Trade Los Indios, 51% increase. Combination of 3 bridges, 54% increase. Eagle Pass, an increase of 56%. Laredo, an increase of 57%. McAllen Hidalgo, an increase of 89%. And Salduas, an increase of 75%. Combination of both bridges, an increase of 158,904, an increase of 84%. Progreso Bridge, an increase of 18 crossings, an increase of 0.4%. Donna Bridge, an increase of 48.53%. The Pharr Bridge, a decrease of 15.46% for the month of December. Page number 4, we have the southbound truck crossings. The trucks that are traveling from US to Mexico through the Pharr Bridge. Total crossings for the month of December, fiscal year 2021, 2022. We crossed a total of 64,799 crossings, which represents an increase of 7,628 vehicles, trucks, or an increase of 13.34% for the month of December. Also, I'd like to present the other crossings from other ports of entry. These are southbound truck crossings. We have Veteran Los Tomates, a decrease of 2,704, 12% decrease. Free Trade Los Indios, a decrease of 689 crossings, 44% decrease. A combination of both bridges, a decrease of 3,393, or a decrease of 15%. Eagle Pass, they had an increase of 254 crossings, 2% increase. Laredo Bridge, an increase of 16,493, an increase of 8%. The Pharr Bridge, we had an increase of 7,628, an increase of 13%. Progreso Bridge, they had an increase of 30 crossings, 1% increase. And the Ansalduas Bridge, they had an increase of 717 crossings, which represents an increase of 40%. for the month of December. On page number 5, we have the northbound truck crossings. These are trucks that are coming from Mexico to the U.S. at the Pharr International Bridge. Total crossings for the month of December, we crossed a total of 55,061 trucks, which represents a decrease of 1,888, or a decrease of 3.32%. Of those, on the agriculture side, the Pharr International Bridge total crossings, 18,455 crossings for the month of December, representing 33% of all the imports that are crossing from Mexico to the U.S. at the Pharr Bridge. As well, on the agriculture side, the Pharr International Bridge import lot show an increase of 1,553 crossings, or an increase of 9.19% over the same month in fiscal year 2020-2021. On page number 6, we have a combination of both. These are southbound and northbound truck crossings. For the month of December, we crossed a total of 119,860 trucks, which represents an increase of 5,740, or an increase of 5.3% for the month of December. Page number 7, we have the revenues. Total revenue collected for the month of December, we collected a total of $1,605,104, which represents an increase of $167,550, or an increase of 11.66%. The first quarter for fiscal year 21-22, from October to December, we collected a total of $4,373,433, which represents an increase of $267,989, or an increase of 6.53%. Also like to state, Vice Chairman, board members, city officials, that this is the highest month that I have seen since on revenues, $1,605,000. This is the best month ever that we collected in the history of the Pharr International Bridge in revenues. On page number 8, we have the crossings by axles. We have cars. We crossed a total of 42,624 cars. 2-axle trucks, 2,647. 3-axle trucks, 4,140. 4-axle trucks, 3,129. 5-axle, 44,274. 6-axle trucks, 10,109. Mobile homes, we crossed 1. Wide loads, 86. Special crossings, 66 crossings. Total crossings, 107,076 crossings. Combination of both cars and trucks. Board members, this concludes my report. If you have any questions.
I think just one comment for sticking more to the agriculture side. 18,500 and change on the ag crossings northbound. That's really good, especially finishing up the year with a lot of uncertainty on many industries, but in particular with produce. We've all heard supply chain issues. We kind of discussed this, I think, in September, October. Hey, expect crossings northbound to increase because of supply chain issues, and Mexico will be playing a bigger role. We're seeing that right now, and to your point, that trucks that come north, they got to go south.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
that's where the city benefits there.
Definitely the month of January, February, especially March, are the heaviest months for perishables that are coming from Mexico to the U.S. And like you said, crossing from Mexico to the U.S., they have to go back, and usually they'll find the best route would be the Pharr Bridge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Move on to item D, to our director's report. Luis Posan.
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, city administrators, for the record, Luis Bazan, Bridge Director. For item B, under Director's Administrative Report, we have the finance report for December 2021, and for that, I'll call Carla Saavedra up to the podium to give us a report on that.
Thank you, Luis. Good afternoon, Carla Saavedra, Finance Director for the record. This is the financial snapshot as of December 31st, 2021. So the end of the first quarter. Revenues are actually pretty good. We've had an increase compared to last year of 17.5%, and with a total of collections $4.4 million compared to $3.7 from last year. which is the 17.5%. And compared to the budget, it's a 9% increase. So we're 9% above what we budgeted in projections in toll revenues. At the bottom, we have the total expenses for October, November, December, a total of $3.5 million. Remember that this includes the transfers out, everything that the money, whatever excess revenue that the city budgets to transfer for the bridge to transfers to the city and for other operations. And even at that, we have a net profit of $848,000 as of December 31st, which is pretty healthy. And then the next page, like I always show, is just the budget comparison. The benchmark is at 25%. The red items, it's what we want it to be 25 or below. The one item that it's a little bit high, it's the insurance and the vehicle usage. And I had mentioned this before, it's due to gas prices, but there's more than enough room in other accounts to adjust for that. And the insurance line item, it's a one-time payment, so there won't be any more activity. So for the rest of the items, everything it's within budget. At the bottom, the construction in progress expenses as of December 2021, this month compared to last month didn't change much, so there's not much activity. And then the last page is just the crossings, which Mr. Browen already went over. So overall, obviously, our best number, it's always the southbound crossings, an increase of 12.87%. Unfortunately, the cars is still going down, but as long as the revenue keeps coming, that's all we care. You have any questions?
I have a question. What was the percentage budgeted for the increase for revenues for this year?
For the revenues, 4%.
Okay.
We budgeted a 4% increase.
So we ended
Compared
up with
to-
9? You said
Yes.
9, right?
Yes,
It was 4%, but it went to 9%.
yes,
The
Correct.
Actuals versus budgeted.
yes.
Yes.
So whatever we end up last year, 2021, the way we budgeted for 21, 22 is we projected a 4% based on whatever we ended up, actual collections. And then even at that, we're 9% above what we budgeted. So those are pretty good numbers.
Great. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Going on to item C of the Director's Administrative Report, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, city administrators, we have Maria Rangel, who's interim city engineer, to give us an status update on our infrastructure projects at the bridge.
Hello, gentlemen and madam. My name is Maria Rangel, for the record, Assistant Director for the Engineering Department here at the City of Pharr. The first project I want to cover is the FY15 project. For that one, it's going well. The contractor has completed the super wide load lane that goes north. They've also completed the canopy footings at the second BSIF exit, the work that is currently in progress. The work that is currently in progress is the concrete repair between the secondary inspection building and the scan building, as well as the primary booth canopy installation and the concrete pavement between the catwalk and the secondary inspection building. What the time is about at 83%, and what's been placed to date in terms of money is about 67%. So we're doing good with time. And work will continue. The next step is for work to continue at the second BSIF exit. Next slide, please. We have several projects, bridge facility expansion phase 3. So that one's just pending completion of phase 2. I know on December 20th, we had a walkthrough with the architect and the contractor. And so up with them pretty soon, end of this week, early next week, to see how it's going and see if we're ready to close out the project with them and start phase 3 of the project, the design work.
Great.
For the commercial vehicle staging area, that one, the The report for the pavement was under review by TxDOT. We have received a response from them, so I'll be coordinating with the city, with Luis as well, to see what our next step will be. I know we submitted the 60% in November of last year. We're hoping to submit the 90% as soon as possible to move the project forward. For FY16, for that one, we've made a lot of progress. The schematic was submitted at the end of December, and our consultant, Half Engineers, is working on the 95% submittal due at the end of this month. And it was also environmentally cleared earlier this month, January 3rd. And so we're still looking at a letting date of the spring 2022 for that one. So that one's going well. And then the twin span bridge, the second span. For that one, we had an environmental scoping meeting with TxDOT on January 12th of this year. Right now, the schedule is looking like the FONSI is expected October 2023. But our plan of attack is to be one step ahead, to have everything ready, so that it's never on our plate that we're causing like a delay. So our consultants already have most of the reports ready for submittal. So we're just waiting for TxDOT to say, we're ready for you to submit this, and we'll submit it as soon as possible. So we are, at least on our end, we're a step ahead already on that. PSNE is expected to be completed June 2022. So right now, the next step is to begin design work, which has already started, have a kickoff meeting with TxDOT, so they're in the loop as well, continue environmental, and begin the geotechnical studies. So we're moving forward with that one. That's all I have. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you, Maria. Okay, moving on to item 2D, the director's report. I have a few items that I would like to report on real quick. The first one, as you know, we have a liaison in Mexico, Ezequiel Ordóñez, and one of the agreements under the new contract is to have a quarterly report. So this is the first report for the quarter, October through December of 2021. So I'm going to call him up to the podium to give you a brief on that. Ezequiel?
Hello, morning. Para récord, mi nombre es Ezequiel Ordóñez, de la liaison en México. Voy a hacer un pequeño reporte, porque si no sería bastante extenso, de que los 3 últimos meses, cómo estamos viajando y cómo empezamos a hacer la promoción y el lobbying en México, en los meses anteriores, desde octubre a diciembre. Como pueden apreciar en las primeras slides, empezamos a participar en un evento de transporte y logística en Monterrey, en el cual participaron ya 120 personas. Fueron de los primeros que hubo en México ahorita, iniciando después de la pandemia, en el cual ¿cómo se llama? Ay, no sé cómo. Bueno, participamos con ellos, estuvimos con Photon, que es una compañía y es constructora o ensambladora de unos automóviles. Estuvimos con Kansas City. En parte del lobbying estuvimos con el gobierno del estado de Tamaulipas. Ellos están desarrollando en la Secretaría de Trabajo, están desarrollando un programa para ayudar y educar en la escuela de choferes en México. ¿Por qué es importante? Bueno, pues los choferes son los que están teniendo escasez, o los transportistas, ¿verdad? Como ustedes pueden saber. Y por otro lado, estuvimos también con la SCT Tamaulipas, que es el que se encarga de desarrollar las autorizaciones y permisos para las placas para que puedan transitar por todo el país. Siguiente. Estuvimos con STMA, que es un evento pequeño donde presentaron los avances y el desarrollo del puente de Dona. Estuvimos con Coconal, con el dueño, que son los concesionarios del lado mexicano, y son la propuesta que son para construir el segundo cuerpo en el área de Pharr, México, del puente. Estuvimos en la Ciudad de México, una de las últimas reuniones que sostuvimos allá para darle seguimiento al segundo cuerpo, lo recibió la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores. En esta ocasión nada más estuvieron presentes los stakeholders federales, como son Banobras, AGA, que son aduanas, Indavin, que son los dueños, que lo que es GSA en el lado americano, estuvo SCT, que es la Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transportes, que es nuestra promotora de proyecto federal, y discutimos los avances y pusimos al día cómo estábamos nosotros con los recursos económicos del lado americano por la ciudad de Pharr ante el gobierno mexicano, de lo cual este era un primer paso para que ellos también nos pudiesen presentar qué es lo que tienen de recursos económicos o el dinero ya para hacer los fondos para desarrollar el proyecto. Este era un paso tan importante para nosotros porque en el lado americano o la ciudad de Pharr ya tiene los recursos, en el lado americano ya lo tenían porque es el banco, solamente tenían que autorizarlo, el consejo de administración del banco y también el fiduciario, que es el FONADIN. Es un consejo que es el que autoriza ya la salida del recurso o del dinero, ¿verdad? Próxima. Estuvimos en un Bridge Connect. Bueno, lo incluí porque era una parte importante en el cual se tocaron temas del lado americano y del lado mexicano. Estuvimos con la SCT, que es como les decía, SCT, la directora de Caminos y Puentes Federales en México, es nuestra promotora, y le dimos seguimiento con lo de SILA. Próxima. Recibimos también en una ocasión aquí a CB Richard Ellis y a los de Majestic Realty, que al parecer van a hacer una inversión grandísima en una parte de Pharr, al sur. Y bueno, pues ya los habíamos recibido hace como 4 o 6 meses atrás con la dirección del puente, y esta vez me tocó también atenderlos a ellos. Estuvimos en la reunión de Index, que es, me parece que está aquí un representante de ellos, y hacen una reunión mensual y tuvieron invitados gentes del gobierno del estado de Tamaulipas. Próxima. Tuvimos en la toma de protesta de agentes aduanales de Reynosa, en el cual fuimos invitados especiales y la administración, así como la gerencia o el director del puente, fueron otorgados con un presente, un representativo del área federal o del área nacional de esta asociación nacional, ¿verdad? Estuvimos con el presidente municipal nuevo y estuvimos con todos los agentes zonales de Reynosa. Próxima. Este es un poquito más educativo, que estuvimos en el UTRGB, presentamos el estatus, tanto Luis como el director del puente, de los proyectos que están desarrollando, y me invitó a participar un poquito del lado mexicano, ya que eran pura gente de MBA o maestrías o doctorados de la universidad. Al mismo tiempo también, por consiguiente, recibimos RGB Partnership. Tuvimos un grupo también de gentes y miembros. Estuvimos también con los ingenieros que están revisando el área mexicana para tener lo que son el proyecto binacional, para estarlo enlazando con SILA y lo de aguas internacionales, ¿verdad? Esto significa que ya están otorgados los permisos, que son los que están faltando, y bueno, yo pienso que en un par de meses o a principios del próximo mes estaremos arrancando la obra del lado mexicano. Casi, estamos hablando casi $58 millones autorizados. Por último, y no quiero dejar de hacer mención, Luis comentó, me parece, la última vez, firmamos un convenio de colaboración, un MOU, con COMSE Noreste, y como les presentaba en algún momento quién era COMSE, COMSE es el que maneja el 40% o el 35% de empresas corporativas de exportación de Monterrey o de Nuevo León. ¿Por qué es tan importante Nuevo León o por qué es tan importante esta asociación? Bueno, pues nada más, en lo que es Nuevo León se maneja el 33% de la economía en todo México, ¿verdad? Digo, sí nos debe importar un poquito lo que exporten para poderle hacer un poquito de apoyo a Laredo para sacar camiones, ¿verdad? Si tienen alguna duda, bueno, pues esto. Tengo el tiempo limitado. Gracias.
Cheque, felicidades. La confirmación, más un comentario, la confirmación de los fondos solidifica el plan que van para adelante, porque muchas veces especulan que una cosa es hacer el compromiso, otra cosa es que ya esté el dinero listo para go live, como quien dice.
Sí, en este caso, antes de tener el permiso presidencial otorgado por el presidente Trump ya habíamos obtenido el número de registro ante Hacienda y el recurso federal en el lado mexicano, fue en octubre 15, del cual eso nos ayudó a apalancar pues el lado americano y te soy sincero, han estado trabajando de la misma, en forma común los dos ingenieros y pues los lobbying que tanto tiene la ciudad de Pharr como nosotros estamos trabajando en México, hemos estado entrando y batallando para accesar en el gobierno, pero al parecer creo que va muy bien. Estamos esperando, Luis les va a dar una buena noticia también, porque esta semana tenía agendado el presidente de la República visitar del lado mexicano el proyecto que estamos desarrollando. Y bueno, pues cualquier cosa estoy para servirles. Yo creo que Luis les puede plantear un poquito más el tema, ¿verdad? Digo, pues eso es, ¿no?
Perfecto. Gracias, Cheque.
Muchas gracias, Ezequiel. Another thing I wanted to discuss real quick, or just to bring to your attention or quick report on, is as you know, we held the first Index Charity Golf Tournament in Pharr this last year in October. So we do have Mr. Mike Myers here, who's been, leading the charge over there for several years now. And I know that the charity golf tournament went really well, and they just actually did the proceeds distribution back on December the 15th. So I'll invite Mike Myers to give a briefing on how that went.
Mike Myers, I'm the general manager of Maquiladora in Reynosa, and also happen to be been part of Index Reynosa for many years, and currently help run the foundation. This past October, at first and second, we had our charity golf event at Tierra del Sol. It was a success beyond all measures. We thanks to moving it to Pharr and again the donation of our sponsors, which you guys really helped out with a lot. Want to thank this is something we had been working on for many years to move the golf tournament over here, and we finally this was the first year we had it, and again it looks like we had a record donations that we were able to make. I think I provided the spreadsheet so you guys can have some details on it, but we gave out $90,000 of donations on December 15th to these various groups: Children's Haven International, Rio Bravo Ministries. There are two Casa de Hogares over in Reynosa, and they have their locations, their U.S. locations here. Actually, Children's Havens, they're at Pharr on Minnesota Avenue. I've taken many things over there many times. Rio Bravo Ministries, their location is right behind Parque del Norte, Teletón, Miradas de Esperanza, Banco de Alimentos, DIF Reynosa, and in our own Fundación is where we also make some donations and also pay taxes for some of the donations we made. I do want to thank the Pharr Bridge, the board, for approving the logo golf caps and the Friday evening mixer for $6,000. Pharr ADC chipped in also. And again, if you can look at our gross expenses of the event that we spent to have the event, $30,000. Most of it we spent in the city of Tierra del Sol. So I just we try and be a good corporate person. With the money comes in, we try and spend it at the venue. So we try and leave a good imprint. Also, the second most expense we had was sidecar rentals. And that's just due to we have to rent a bunch of golf carts because Tierra del Sol didn't have enough golf carts for the size event that we have. We end up, and so, we need to figure out how to do some better than that. And again, it's just one of those business things that we try and do. The less expenses we have, it's just the P&L statements that you guys deal with all the time. The more revenue we can bring in, the less expenses, the more donations we can make. We're looking forward to, I personally put this event on for the last 11 years. Looking forward to 2022. I've actually already begun speaking to the Tierra del Sol golf director. And I guess the exciting part is it looks like we're going to have a new golf building and work on the golf course. We just have to all keep our fingers crossed and say Hail Mary and Our Father that they get it done in time. So So we're ready to go October 1st, 20 or 2nd or 3rd or whatever that Friday and Saturday falls on 2022.
How many teams do you have?
We actually had over close to 200 players. We had signed up over 200 players. We play 6-man teams. A Florida scramble just to try and keep it moving. We have sponsors from everywhere. Actually, Alberto is one of our biggest sponsors. His company is one of our biggest sponsors and has been for many, many years. And it's, throughout the industry are out there. It's a good time for the industry to get together and raise money for a good cause and then have a lot of fun doing it. And that's the great thing. We've been able to have a lot of fun doing it. And sponsorships like the Pharr Bridge and Pharr EDC, again, help us help others. And that's truly what we've been trying to do over all these years, with social responsibility and give back to our communities. Because I tell my board every day when we have our foundation board meetings, kind of like when you guys have, the secret is not giving money away because there's just so much need out there. The secret is bringing money in and raising revenue. That's the tough part. And again, that's why I'm here to you guys and stick my hand out. So 2022 comes around. We'd like to see the Pharr Bridge give more, so we can pass it back on to the community and then talk to Tierra del Sol so we can reduce our expenses also. So, any
you so
questions
much.
from y'all?
Any comment? I know you were able to be there. with
It
them.
was a big event, and I'm glad you had the opportunity to host it here in Pharr. You do a lot for the community, and it's much appreciated, Mike. It's your own personal time. It's your own. All these efforts are commended to you and your team.
Yeah, it's one of those things that charges your batteries, and one of these days we're going to have to kneel and confess, and it's just one of those things that just helps me wake up in the morning and keep on going.
We're grateful for you, Mr. Myers, for your time and for Index. I know for years, the relationships they take time to develop, right? And we're extremely happy that we've been able to work closer each year. And if the goal is next year to support, then anything we can do. But it's exciting to see that not only the city, the bridge, the other departments, but you got private entity as well.
It's a combination of everything.
But it's a reflection of the work that you're doing, and we commend you for that, and we look forward to continue to work with you in the future.
Well, thank you so much. And as far as the bridge part of it, I was talking to several of us. I run a maquilador over there, and I can't hire people fast enough. I can't run enough orders. I can't run enough trucks back and forth across the border. Business is booming. Thank God. And I love to see the extra spans in the bridge going, and because I know to get that stuff back and forth across the border, that's what keeps us strong. Is us having a short supply chain, and we don't have to fight those problems of those port stuff and happening in China and stuff, all that. So on the business side, thank you all for thinking about the future.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you, Mr.
Thank you,
Myers.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. It's a great cause, and we're excited about what the future holds. We're going to step it up. So, like you said, hopefully we'll have our new facilities in order by then. But we're very excited about lending our facilities on our people to make this happen for this great cause. Last thing that I have on here is our most of you that were out there for our annual customer appreciation holiday social that we've been hosting for the last 4 or 5 years. Last year we couldn't host it because of the COVID pandemic. So this year we were able to get this done. It was bigger and better. I want to thank our sponsors as well. Some of our board members, I think our chairman of the board and our vice chairman were big sponsors with the cabritos and some of the food. So Evolving and Primo, thank you. Nansen, Guerrero Logistics, for all the continued support. As a matter of fact, after this event, some other folks approached us about sponsoring for next year. So we're excited about that future as well. And hopefully this COVID thing does, take a downturn in a good way, right? And we can have this at the end of next year. I know people are looking forward to it. Nothing but rave reviews about it. So we're excited about that as well. So thank you all that made it possible. Thank you to the team, working overtime, working, all throughout the month to make sure that everything was being handled correctly, being organized and getting everything done. We couldn't ask for a better team. So thanks everybody for that.
Thank you.
And then this is going to be an item that we have in our agenda. I could either leave it for then, or I can bring Dante Galeazzi up, director for TIPA, to give us a quick presentation on this. Let's invite Dante. Dante, de una vez.
Not morning. Good afternoon, board. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak and tell you a little bit about Viva Fresh. As Luis said, my name is Dante Galeazzi. I'm the president of the Texas International Produce Association. We're the nonprofit that represents the $10 billion of fresh produce that's either grown here in the state of Texas or crosses into Texas as the first point of distribution for domestic market uses. So a little bit about last year's Viva Fresh. As you guys know, COVID was raging in March when we hosted this event. Since the very beginning, when we decided to go forward with Viva Fresh, we understood that COVID is going to be around. It's not going away. It's something we have to figure out how to live with. So we decided very early on, we were going to host our event and figure out how it would go forward, understanding the risks and security that would be necessary to host an event during the middle of COVID. So we were very fortunate. We aimed for 1,200 attendees. We had to do a little bit of wiggling and we got 1,250 attendees to the event. We had 140 exhibitors. We had 200 retail food service. So those 200 folks, those are the guys that came. They represented Whole Foods. We had a few from H-E-B, a few from United Supermarkets, and then we had a whole lot of folks from other national level retail, restaurant, and wholesale enterprises come and attend the event. The feedback was very, very positive. It was the first produce event that was held in 2021. Surprisingly, there was no other events held in 2021 until June. So we kind of really set the mark and we plan to do that again this year with this year's Viva Fresh. It was like I said, first event since 2020. And we had a lot of good notes about the new location, which is the Gaylord Texan Resort in Grapevine, Texas. Anyone that hasn't been there, it's an incredible hotel. It's basically like the JW Marriott in San Antonio on steroids. It is awesome. Next slide. Thank you. So what do we expect for 2022 this year? We expect an event very similar to the 6 years that we had before COVID. We expect to have over 2,000 attendees. We expect to have about 300 retail food service VIPs. We expect to have about 200 exhibitors. We may trim that down a little bit, but we know that 200 is going to be our aim. We've already got 170 exhibitors committed for the event. We have a lot of the same COVID precautions in place. We're going to have lanyards, colored lanyards that indicate people's comfort. We have face shields. By the way, thank you to this bridge and the city of Pharr for making those available last year. We're going to carry those over into this year. So that's a little bit of free publicity for y'all. We will also have face masks, hand sanitizer stations, as well as frequent sanitation happening throughout the event, both in the exhibit hall and throughout the education sessions. Our format's going to return to 3 days. We're going to have the golf tournament and a wine outing on Thursday. We'll have our education welcome reception and other receptions happening on Friday. And then, of course, we have our buyer speed meetings and our expo happening on Saturday. Guys, I apologize. I jumped right into this and I didn't set the scene. So for those that don't know, Viva Fresh is a regional fresh produce expo. And what we do is we are highlighting the Texas-Mexico relationship and what it means to the U.S. and Canadian marketplace. So the exhibitors that we have, those are the produce importers, those are the growers, those are the sales agents, those are the folks that are handling all of the fresh produce from this point forward into the supply chain. The folks that are walking the floor, those are the grocery store buyers. Those are also the allied companies, your trucking companies, warehouses. And really what we want to do with this event is we want to put the supply side in touch with the buy side and have all the other partners like the city of Pharr, the Pharr International Bridge, warehouse development, trucking companies, logistics, everybody there. Because in those meetings, you're not only talking about the business you're going to do, but you're talking about things and challenges that we have now, like supply chain issues, right? What does that look like moving forward? What should we expect for freight? Should we expect to continue to pay $12,000 for a refrigerated truck from South Texas to do multiple drops in the Northeast? We might. But we've got to have those conversations, and we can only have those conversations if we have everybody at the table. That's why Viva Fresh is so important. I apologize for jumping right into this, but so what are we going to do at this year's event? We're going to keep it just as we always have. The focus is networking. A lot of times people go to regional events or these other trade shows, and we want to make sure that you come to this event and you have time for meetings. You have time to talk with people that you haven't seen in 3 years. You have time to talk with new business opportunities. You have time to talk about everything that's happening in the industry and plan about how you are going to take your business, your footprint forward. 4 pillars of Viva, regional show highlighting Texas and Mexico. We're going to talk about everything that's impacting the region. We always have a keynote speaker focused on health and why fruits and vegetables is important. And the entire show is about the networking. And we already covered that we're going to go back to the 3-day expo as opposed to the 2-day. And we're going to have even more receptions than we usually do because, again, we know that a lot of people have not had an opportunity to get together. So we want to make as many opportunities as possible for those that want to meet to be able to do so. Here's a few pictures from last year's event. So the picture in the middle is the opening reception. We planned last year to have 300 people at our opening reception. We had 600. Right? So we had almost the entire first floor packed. Surprisingly, almost nobody was on the second floor once the sun went down. We expect that will be very different this year. In addition, we are probably going to have to expand this party into the parking lot because we expect there's going to be that many people at the welcoming reception this year. I believe that is it. So I hope that was quick enough, but I hope it wasn't too quick. So at this point, I'll turn it over and see if there's any questions about Viva Fresh, what it means, what it does, and why it's important that we continue to have the great relationship with the Pharr International Bridge there at Viva Fresh.
Any questions, guys? What year are we on as far as sponsoring?
Started from the very beginning.
From the beginning?
So that was
Yeah.
2013.
In the trajectory as an importer, as ourself, the only comment I'll make is these regional shows have proven to be much more successful as far as a personable approach and a one-on-one meeting with the customers and really anybody who's there, because it's a much smaller setting. It's much more intimate versus the national shows. It's everything's so fast paced. Everything's so quick. You really don't have time to see people unless you're on a schedule, unless you're on an appointment, which is really tough to make at a national show when there's how many attendees at a national show?
PMA has 23,000 attendees.
Right. Try catching somebody who's running by. There's no way.
Yeah.
So these smaller settings and like TIPA, there's others, but the regional shows have an extremely high success rate as far as what the overall outcome will be in establishing the relationship.
And guys, one other thing, if I can. So and Freddie, Fred, Luis, they all know this already, but if I can just impart, there is so much that's happening down here at the border that is really going to set the trend for the fresh produce industry in the U.S. I'm talking about the trucking regulations that we're going to see go into place on January 22nd. Down here is how we see the footprint for essential workers. For the domestic industry, this is where they get a lot of their workers is from Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. So they're crossing here. But then also, you guys talked about the supply chain issues, right? We used to get a lot of citrus from China. All that citrus is sitting in container ships for an extra 14 to 21 days. So where are they looking? They're looking to Mexico to satisfy that need. Like I said, this area is going to set the trend for fresh produce probably for the next 5 years. So a lot of people come to this event with a lot of questions. And that's why it's so great having a good, strong presence from the city of Pharr there, because myself and my team, we're only 3 people. We can only answer so many questions. So it's so much easier if I can say, hey, you know what? You want to hear about what's happening at the bridge? Let me get you in touch with Luis. Let me get you in touch with Fred. Let me get you in touch with Freddie, because these are the guys that have the stats and the info. So that said, guys, I really appreciate this. Thank you. And I'm always available for any questions.
Thank you, Dante.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dante. And that was a great segue. Just real quick on speaking of trend setting, speaking of growth and forward momentum, that seems to be the theme with the Pharr International Bridge for several years now, and our numbers are not the exception. We got our brand new, not our brand new, but we got the latest trade numbers that go through November of 2021, and I'm happy to report, I'm excited to report that back during the pandemic in 2020, our numbers were down from 36 billion in trade with Mexico and the rest of the world. They went down to 33 billion, but that was across the board. That was about 9 to 10% decrease across the board, mostly due to the automotive sector and the chip shortage. But right now, as of November 2021, we're up to $38 billion in trade with Mexico and the rest of the world.
That's great.
So all our main commodities, our main industries that we're servicing here at the Pharr International Bridge are on the rise, and particularly with Mexico and Canada. So obviously that ties us in directly to the USMCA, and we're going to continue to move forward. So it's just great news for trade in itself, and we're happy to be a part of it.
That's great. So section 3, item C,
Mhm.
can move forward.
Once we
Right. But we don't have to go back there. No, we haven't done it. Go back to.
Luis,
Yes.
is 3B an action item?
Yes.
all of them are action
All of them are
items,
action items.
except for
Are we on 3B?
No. We skipped into C.
Was this part of the director's report?
no. So
No.
now we move on to administrative,
Wait a
which is
minute,
section
administrative.
3.
So we'll just start. we'll
Okay.
Yeah,
go
we
back
just
to A.
start, and then when we get to that part, since he already presented.
Yeah.
That was, okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we'll go back, section 3, item A. Need a motion for approval of minutes for December 15, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Luis and second by Larry Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we'll move on to item B, discussion of action of any for the 2022 International Fresh Produce Association corporate membership.
If I may add,
For-
Mr. Vice Chairman, for this one, it's a combination now. So we used to have the Produce Marketing Association, which is the PMA, the national one that Tony was talking about. And we used to have United Fresh. Now they've joined up forces. So now it's one organization.
And is that pretty much what we're sponsoring, Luis? That amount?
It was about half of that when we had separate.
Okay.
So pretty much it came down to about the same thing once you put them both together
Oh,
in the past. So this is all, it's one new organization.
And just a little bit of a background with why the partnership there, United Fresh and City of Pharr was teaming up for more on the legislative items. So anytime the city needed a letter of support or vice versa, when United Fresh needed letters of support, our legislative team worked directly with their team in Washington to tackle certain industry issues that have come up. And over the last couple of years, there's been quite a few with so many changes happening. But it's basically the same thing. It's now under a different name.
I'll make a motion on that. On
Motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Flores. We already did. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to item C, discussion of action of any Viva Fresh Summit Platinum Level Sponsorship and Booth for $20,000. Any discussion? We pretty much summed it all. Okay, get a motion? Motion by Mr. Campero,
second.
second by Mr. Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to item D. Luis, you want to get into these D and E since they're very, very similar?
Yes. So basically on D&E, as you know, we've had an ongoing relationship, business relationship with Comce Noreste. Cheque was just talking about it in his report. Last year, we were able to get on a sponsorship level also with them, which led us to the signing or that MOU agreement that we now have in place that we took care of back in December of 2021 to close out the calendar year. So this is basically a continuation of the membership on item D. And then the second one, item E, is a continuation to move forward with the sponsorship. Gives us webinars, gives us some more proximity or getting us closer to a lot of these major exporters that Ezequiel was talking about. More market share.
So there are two different ones.
There's two different ones.
One is the membership,
Membership is the D,
the D, and then the other one's a sponsorship.
correct? Yes, sir.
This is an annual membership, I'm assuming.
Correct.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? Good. Motion by Mr. Campero, second by Mr. Flores. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries
For both D and E, correct?
for both D and E. Moving on for item F, discussion of action, if any, on amending renewal of the existing contract for Bluestone Capital Solutions I believe this is an executive session item.
Yes, sir,
Correct.
it is.
In accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the International Toll Bridge Board hereby gives notice that it may meet in executive session to discuss and deliberate any items listed in the public portion of the meeting agenda, including items in accordance with the following. Time now is 12:50 p.m. Good afternoon. The time is now 1:21. We are out of executive session and we will go back to section 3, item D, for discussion of action, if any, on renewing Comce Noreste membership for $1,690.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Hernandez,
Second.
second by Mr. Campero. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to item E, discussion and action, if any, on Comce Noreste institutional sponsorship for 2022 for $1,950.
Motion.
Item, E.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Flores, second by Mr. Campero. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to item F. Luis?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, city administrators, on regards to item F, if you look at the original contract, it automatically renews on February the 7th. Staff is recommending that we abide by the current contract and automatically renew the contract under the same agreement and terms as per the original contract, which again renews on February 7th, 2022.
Okay, so action or action?
Yeah, so do you have a motion?
Yeah, we got a motion to renew
Motion
for the existing contract.
for the existing contract?
Motion by Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Second by Mr. Campero. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all we have for today.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Hernandez, second by Mr. Campero.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.